It's been a rough few years for Disney as they have decided to prioritize identity politics and pushing a woke agenda instead of actually entertaining people. And it's hurt them financially. There's no doubt about that. When you look at the parks, when you look at streaming, when you look at the box office, when you look at everything, Disney is down right now. It's resulted in their stock falling by nearly 50% just in the past year as they continue to double down on woke propaganda, especially woke propaganda that's targeted towards families, that's targeted towards children. Unfortunately for them, with all of this virtue signaling, with all of this nonsense that's destroyed their company, it's still not enough, at least not according to the gay activists out there. Disney, not gay enough for GLAAD, receives insufficient mark in annual LGBTQ inclusivity report card. And spoiler alert, all this studios got insufficient because there's not enough gay people. There's not enough LGBTQIA 1, 2, 3, 4 plus representation yet. And there never will be. In the past year alone, the Walt Disney Company fought Florida over its anti-grooming parental rights and education law, created multiple transgender characters for children's shows, put gay characters in the center of big-budgeted movies, and even launched an LGBTQ-themed apparel line. And still, Disney isn't gay enough for the folks at GLAAD. On Thursday, GLAAD gave Disney an insufficient mark in its annual LGBTQ inclusive report card, saying the company's efforts have been lacking despite progress made in recent years. The group slammed Disney for donating $25,000 to anti-LGBTQ politicians without noting that Disney has historically donated to politicians across the political spectrum. And here you have the entire thing here. GLAAD's 10th annual Studio Responsibility Index sees the percentage of LGBTQ inclusive films drop, as does racial diversity and screen time. Look at how they're breaking this stuff down. They're literally, listen, a lot of people got mad at me because they reported falsely so that I counted the number of something people in a movie. Look at what they're doing. They're actually counting the number of gay people in these movies. GLAAD found that 77 films theatrically released by 7 major studios, 16, 20.8% contained LGBTQ characters, including films like this. I mean, look at all this stuff. The report saw a decrease in lesbian representation and continues to fall behind with bisexual representation. This is very, very deep. That's what we're talking about when it goes to how they break down these things. And it's not enough. Disney is not gay enough. Disney wasn't alone in GLAAD's annual act of Hollywood chastisement. All the studios reviewed this year received bad marks, with the worst grades handed out to Paramount and Lionsgate. Both studios received failing marks for not featuring a single identifiable LGBTQ character in any films they released in 2021. Based, I guess. Warner Brothers received the second lowest grade of poor, with GLAAD noting the studio continues to work with J.K. Rowling, whom the group inaccurately described as an anti-trans activist. Like, this is how it goes with these things. They're talking about instituting something called the Vito Russo test, which is the Bechdel test on gay steroids. To pass the Vito Russo test, the following must be true. The film contains a character that is identifiably lesbian, gay, bisexual, and or transgender. Okay, that's one rule. That character must also not be solely or predominantly defined by their sexual orientation or gender identity, i.e. they're made up of the same sort of unique character traits commonly used to differentiate straight characters from one another. These kind of go counterintuitive because on one hand, you're saying you must feature someone who is demonstrably gay or lesbian or whatever, but also that can't be the only thing that they're about. That's kind of what you want. That's what you're fucking counting right now. You're sitting there, boom, 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 boom. 20.8% of films featured a gay person. Like, that's exactly what you're doing. Then the last rule. It can't just be a background character. It has to be important. The LGBTQ character must be tied into the plot in such a way the removal would have a significant effect, meaning they're not there to simply provide colorful commentary, paint urban authenticity. Does that have something to do with racism? I don't know. Or perhaps most commonly set up a punchline. The character should matter. This is a fucking joke. You know, one thing that GLAAD did praise was Strange World. You know, the movie that bombed for Disney, the movie that isn't going to hit $100 million, the movie that's going to lose nearly $200 million for Disney. GLAAD praised that one because it's not about what a good movie it is, how well it performs at the box office, nothing. All they care about is the inclusivity, even if it makes everything else suffer. And it will never be enough. It'll never be sufficient. It'll never be okay. It'll never be acceptable. It'll always be the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. When you bend the knee to these woke mobs, when you bend the knee to these activist freaks, you will always lose. You will never satisfy them. So that's why people need to learn to stop fucking trying. And the sooner Disney realizes that, whether it's because they inevitably like go bankrupt or maybe finally they actually turn something around, then they're still going to be hurting. They're still going to have to bend to whatever whim these people decide to push them to.
Thanks for watching, everyone. And a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.